listening to the one and only Dawgs Show. Your hosts, Troup Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, Dog fans, to the one and only Dawgs Show with Troup and Smooch. And feels good to be a Dog fan after a big victory, 44-41 over the Tennessee Volunteers. 9 in a row, Smooch. That's a classic game. It doesn't get any better than that. We are enjoying our time after that W.
It's a classic game. You know what I discovered? Winning is much better than losing. much better. This term moral victory and all those things that certain people are trying to wrap their minds around these days. No. And Kirby was right. Both of those teams deserve to win that game. Georgia won it. And speaking of one for the record books, one for the books, legendary games, as I rewatched it, when you watch it separated from your emotion, which is a big difference in what you absorb, the fourth down pass to London Humphreys is going to go up there with the Keely Ringo interception. It's going to go up there with all of those plays you think of. Run Lindsey, all of those. Now in the pantheon of plays is that fourth down touchdown pass to London Humphreys from Gunnar Stockton. It's one of those that'll live in our memories forever.
It's not a typical fourth down conversion play.
No.
Is it? No. It's one of those high risk plays that you get the numbers you want and you call it most times 4th and 6. Whew, so much riding on that. I do say at that point, 2.5 minutes to go in the game, Georgia had 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. So 4 timeouts. Right. If they didn't get it, they still have an opportunity to stop Tennessee, use the timeouts to have another shot at it. So I can understand that part. But even Kirby said he thought the tougher play, even that was spectacular. But he thought the tougher catch that London made was a little bit earlier when he had to go up and stretch out on the same sideline.
Oh, that was a better catch, a better display of his athleticism.
It was.
But it was the the absolute ice water in your veins as a quarterback. You have to stay in the pocket and throw that ball in that situation. You've got to know you can throw the deep ball when you cut that one loose because all you need is 4 yards, and he put it in the end zone.
We did cash some receipts in because last episode we did let you know about all the, all the talking heads and their thoughts and their predictions and how they thought Georgia had no quarterback, no wide receivers, no special players, no running backs, and it felt ridiculous. And so we, you can pull it up on YouTube and on Twitter. We got it there too. But that's a good reason to go to our YouTube page if you're not already a subscriber there. Yeah. We have a lot of those little videos and things just to tweak our opposing fan bases and to give you folks some more bells and whistles and visuals on our regular podcast.
Yeah, and so many in the media today, in the sports media, they operate with no repercussion for being so wrong. They throw these takes out there to get clicks. And they're football ignorant takes like we saw from the entire staff of Unnecessary Roughness. I don't know how that's even a show. And they throw these takes out and it's shock jock type of stuff. And then, we're going to be the ones that remind them of what they said on the other side. Because if you want to make Georgia fans, get behind a quarterback or get behind a coach or get behind a team, you guys start talking about them. We can run down our quarterback. We can run down our O-line or disagree with our coaches. You don't get to. If you want to get Georgia fans unified, start talking about Gunnar Stockton as in terms of he sucks, he can't throw the ball. And you'll see it. And now you're getting to reap the repercussions of it. I believe that video did 6,000 views in 16 hours. So
yeah, very outlandish takes, and that's what got our attention. We're like, do you even watch sports? Or this just sounds something like, because you haven't watched them, so your take sounds so odd because you haven't watched at all. You looked at a box score and said, well, Georgia only won by 22 points against Austin Peay. Man, they just ain't got nothing. Look at the stats. Right. It's not that. And so Kirby had a comment that made me think of that because he says, from the outside, there's a lot of people whistling past the graveyard when it comes to Georgia. Right. I don't know if folks understood what he was saying. That's what he was saying. Some of these takes and some of these opinions on who we are, you're whistling past the graveyard. You really don't know who you're talking about when you talk about how Georgia is built, how Georgia prepares, and the culture at Georgia. So he wanted to say more. I could tell that was just the kind of way he let you know that he knows. And he called them out for it just a little bit, but they're probably not smart enough to understand that he's even talking about them.
Well, the game went the way it goes when your team is prepared. We talk about this, about dragging a team out into deep water and let them drown. And that moment was too big for the kicker, for Tennessee. That he got in a moment, it was just too big for the team, and they missed it. And I told you, I believe I said this on the Rapid Reaction. I felt at the moment of the missed kick that there was no way Georgia loses that game, because Georgia thrives on that type of thing. Being in deep water with the game on the line, and you saw it. Tennessee came into overtime tight. Georgia did not. They came out aggressive. They blew them off the ball with that beautiful Frazier run, and then they pounded it in. Didn't throw it another single time and won the game.
Soon as Frazier took off on that run, I was texting, Sony Michel. It looked just like the Rose Bowl run from Sony Michel. I mean, that was a direct snap to him, but it looked so similar. And he didn't complete it, but as far as getting in the end zone, but so much fun. Let's talk about the Georgia's performance. Offensively, Smooch, what were some – obviously, Georgia scored 44 points. What were some good things that you recognized in this game? Because that was the question. Georgia had no offense. Georgia's offense was not going to allow them to compete in games like this or to go very far this season.
All of my friends that are very close ball knowers, that know the game, they watch a lot of football. They're mostly Alabama fans. But they all had the idea, well, if Georgia can keep it a low-scoring game, they can win. But Georgia can't win a shootout. And then they turn around and do exactly that. It was a good old-fashioned shootout. No, I think right off the bat, Troup, what was it? The
first
was
play.
Was it the first play?
Yeah, Kobe Young. Yeah.
Kobe Young, first play up top, a beautifully thrown ball right off the top. And it was just like, hey, this is going to be all right. And then they went down the field, and both teams scored with ease early, and it looked like that would favor Tennessee because they play that way all the time. But honestly, that was what I liked the most. We know what the offense can do when the offense has to, and we can put that away for the rest of the season. The worry about scoring points is over. They just went against a quality SEC team. By the way, if Georgia's fortunate enough to make it to the SEC title game, we may play Tennessee 3 times this year. That's possible with what we saw on the field this past weekend. But they went against that solid team and put up all the points they needed. You score in the 40s, you should win. Tennessee didn't, Georgia did.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that from a fan's perspective, and I guess from the team's perspective, there's no more question that Georgia can score points and they can respond and whatever they need to do. Georgia would much rather win, probably, or Kirby Smart would, score about half of that. And
right.
And he said that he knew that they were going to take some punches. He didn't know they were going to have to respond that often, though. But Georgia was the ability for Georgia to respond in that situation is what showed me what I needed to see. Because I always feel that Georgia is built that way. They're going to be a team that they're going to keep chopping. And so bad things are going to happen, but they are just built to continually answer those haymakers.
Absolutely. And I thought that when you're a guy like Nate Frazier that came in so hyped and so talked about, to struggle, I don't want to really say struggle, but to face the scrutiny he's faced, I think that's fair. And then I thought he made not that last run even withstanding. Let's say he doesn't have that last run in overtime. I thought he played so much better. His cuts were precise. He put his head down when he needed to. I thought Nate Frazier played a great game and had a huge kind of bounce back. It's not like he was in obscurity or anything, but he looked like an RB1 in that game. That was another positive take for me.
And again, we got to see what Branch is all about. Loved seeing him and the big playability he's got. Kobe Young continued to do what he's been doing. And another running back that I was pleased to watch was the McCray. Josh McCray came in. I had no anticipation. Yeah. And it was like he came in at a point where Georgia needed somebody to establish a little run game and get a few positive yards. And he came in there, and Georgia settled down after getting down 21-7. And so I like what McCray did. And I will say also Chauncey Bowens played a lot too. He was the second most snaps at running back.
Interesting.
And he was in there on that game-tying drive. He was the running back that they went to when Georgia was down by 8 points. And so I made a note of that because that matters.
Well, if you look at their bodies, it's hard to think that Chauncey Bowens, what he offers in both the pass blocking game and the receiving game, he offers a lot more than you, especially in the receiving game, than you would expect from a back that has his style. But he's a great receiver, and I can see where you would trust him on we've got to have points on this drive type of drive.
Now, defensively, Smooch, we could name a lot of stuff that for improvement, and we'll get to that. But what do you feel like the defense did well in this game? Giving up 41 points, maybe not so great, but what did you feel good about?
Well, I feel good about the fact that they intercepted a quarterback twice that was capable of putting up points on them. I really liked that. And I think, honestly, with those interceptions, they probably the defense gave the Dogs a chance to put the game away. It just didn't happen. And so even though they had took the points, they still kept playing hard. The Raylan Wilson hit, I think, changed the complexion of the entire game, because if you watch the play of the Tennessee quarterback after he takes that hit, that is the lull in the game that put Georgia back in it. And so you could really attribute that run from Georgia to the defensive play, because Raylan Wilson it was the hardest textbook hit that wasn't even borderline illegal that I think I've seen in years, because everything about it was textbook perfect. He just laid the guy out and wrapped him up at the same time. Usually when someone blows someone up, both bodies fall to the ground. It's a textbook play. I loved that from the defense. I thought that the secondary kept playing their game. So when you see a team like Georgia give up the points they did, usually your defense gets frustrated and does stupid things. You see some stupid penalties, maybe an unsportsmanlike conduct or a late hit. They really didn't fall into that trip. So I like the way the defense kept playing hard and kept their heads on them, even though they had done something very uncharacteristic of them in giving up all those points. So that was my plus for the D, Troup.
Yeah, I think even with those two big 50-50 balls he threw up early in the game, or I guess one of them was a little later. Mm-hmm. But the defensive backs were where they needed to be. And so it wasn't really – the process was good. They just didn't complete the play. Sometimes that's going to happen. It's not a common thing. I wouldn't think going forward that's something Georgia's going to worry about. It'd be something if they looked overmatched. That's not what happened. And I did think after they got up to 21 points, Georgia adjusted. They were doing something defensively with their linebackers and with Aguero, and they adjusted those looks, changed up the looks. They still weren't able to get great pressure because Aguiar was getting rid of the ball super quick. And some of you Georgia fans who get irritated with, we got no pressure. Put your stopwatch. We did it. Got your stopwatch on this from the snap to the time he releases the ball. And if it's under 2 seconds, you really got no shot. If it's a second and a half, you got no shot. Yeah. And so that's why these coverages have to matter. Or, that was really part of the game plan. He had some open receivers, little short passes, and he was on time. Give him credit. Give their game plan credit. But after that first quarter, Georgia adjusted. They didn't score it all in the second quarter. It was what, midway through the third quarter before they scored again. And so they adjusted. And like you said, no mental breakdowns. Georgia stayed on it, kept chopping all game long. I think you can see Georgia's defense. We heard Kirby Smart even say it, or did they get down after this game or some of the aspects of this game? He was like, no, those guys always think they're going to shut you down. He said that they thought they were going to block the kick, the extra. No, it was a kick in the overtime. They thought they were going to block that. They do not lack confidence, and they are all together. And so, a couple of outlier plays, but that doesn't get me down by what I've seen so far from Georgia's defense. 41 points is a lot. But I don't think you're going to have to get used to that. Georgia's got really talented. A couple things they do need to improve, though, Smooch. Let's look at need for improvement for Georgia. And you can just chime in anytime here. One of the things that bother me the most that is going to be an ongoing issue that I'm so curious to see how they remedy it is the problem at right tackle. Because Ernest Green was the starter. He's just injured. He doesn't look good at all. Doesn't look capable to stand up to it. And then they turned to Jaw Jackson. He was number 2. Yeah. Well, against the Austin Peay, he looked so out of sorts that they had to kind of move on past him. And so then you went to Uini, and folks, he showed you he might not play a right tackle again this year. It was that bad. I went and watched every play a couple times and watched people break it down. and he struggled. He struggled with so many things. He didn't just struggle with bad technique. He struggled with that, but then he just didn't know what to do on a lot of plays either. And then when you just get run over on several plays and run right by, that's not Georgia, quality. I mean, not when it happens over and over. And I'm surprised they waited as long as they did to pull the trigger and get him out of there and get Hughley in. And so
he's at least hard to move, right? I mean,
he did a good job.
He did.
He was in there for the fourth quarter, but Georgia's going to have to find a solution to that. And they really suspect that Hughley could play, but they really suspect or project the big freshman Juan Gaston as a right tackle or as a tackle. Mm-hmm. But he worked some at tackle, but then he got injured, right?
Right.
And so they wanted to use him more at guard because they wanted to get him. He's one of the 5 best offensive linemen, and they thought Ernest Green's going to lock down that tackle on the other side of Monroe Freeling. And we want Gaston on the field, so we're going to train him at guard just to get him out there. And now
that's a good point.
Your best team may be with him. If he can handle guard tackle, then that's with way Glover's playing at right guard. That might be your best 5.
For the second time, Glover Glover jumps off the film when you rewatch the film. That's the second time this season, so that's not a fluke. I think Stitchcomb said it the best that I've heard it. It is very shocking and off-putting and disappointing that Georgia is looking to true freshmen when we've had guys in the Georgia system for years that are not ready when they get on the field. I don't know, and I'm not going to venture as to why that is. I'm not going to jump on the Stacey Searles must go thing, but something is not right. There's something that is so anti-Georgia standard about the way some of these guys, Uini, I think you mentioned, the way he got beat. He didn't get beat with a clever scheme. It was like a turnstile. He just got run over, abused, run by. Those things like that, they just seem so anti-Georgia that it sticks out. It's a glaring weakness right now on the right side of that line. So they've got 2 weeks to fix it, and that might be time enough to put some guy in a new position. Yeah. But the offensive line has been concerning for me since I believe Gunner was hit the first drop back of the Austin Peay game. The last thing you want is your quarterback getting touched against directional school. You don't want that to happen. And he got whacked early in that game. And so something, and I'm sure Kirby knows what it is, but something is just not right with the lack of next man up the mentality's there, but the lack of the next man up being prepared to come in and play at least serviceable. That was really shocking to me.
Yeah, they went way down the depth chart. If you look, you got 2 tackles, right? So these guys are being trained for both sides. That Hughley is a guy they expect. He was just a little light. He's not a big player at all. I think he's still south of 300 pounds, but like 6'5", 6'6". Mm-hmm. And all he did was get in there and do his job. He wasn't like the best tackle in the world. Right. He just did his job and got in the way and played his assignment and didn't look foolish. And that's all he did. Now, he was fresh when he came in, and Uini was starting to get sloppy and tired, and he still didn't play but, 30 snaps? It's not like he played 60 snaps. Some of those guys on the left side played the whole game. There's no excuse to get in there for that amount of time and be tired. But the sloppy footwork and the not knowing what you do, and you could see him looking left and right and asking what to do on some of he was talking to the guard next to him, who was a freshman, looking at the tight end. When you're doing this, confused. Yeah. So I don't want to really hit him. We've hit him hard enough in the chat group, but he's got a long way. He's a huge guy. He's 6'7", 335 pounds. Mm-hmm. But it might be a while unless they just don't have a choice. Right. I think Smooch, they're deeper at offensive guard, so it will make sense based on what we've seen to go ahead and move Gaston on out there, and then you got. I think Uini, if he has to play again, it'll be better at a guard position where you're not too exposed. But then you got Glover right there as well. You got more depth at the guard spot. And God forbid, what if Monroe Freeling went down?
Oh my goodness!
Your tackles would be an absolute. It could be a disaster in terms of Georgia's offense this year. I'm shocked. I am really shocked that Georgia scored 44 points. Give Gunner Stockton so much credit.
Preach it.
44 points with the way that right side destructed, mostly the tackle, but the guards kind of, you're right next to somebody doing that, you're putting in a bad spot as well. And so we won't talk about, we can make a whole show based on that because I studied it for the last few days.
Yeah.
It was that concerning to me. So I think they need to go ahead and move Gaston out there. And if he's healthy enough, see, that's the thing. Because if he's not really that healthy, how much time can you give him in the next 2 weeks? You want him to be healing, not learning or training for a new position and what that would entail. But
100%.
Moving on, let's talk about Gunnar Stockton a little bit. A lot of great things.
Yeah.
Here's the things I think he needs to do to improve. Dude's a gamer, and I had a feeling this was coming. I had it in my notes last week. He's got a chance to really break out against Tennessee and show you how high his ceiling really is. Because he hasn't been tested. There's not been a game before that reasonably he would be prepared for to show you what he was all about until this game. But what he does need to do differently or better is still, people talk about it when he does get any pressure, he needs to climb the pocket and keep his vision downfield. Or even when he starts to run, Smooch, if he runs down the sideline, a lot of times these defenders are coming up. I saw twice Saturday
one in the end zone. Yeah.
Yes, maybe 3 times in. I was thinking, I remember that was Noah Thomas.
Yes.
And they're coming up. All he's got to do is pause just a little bit. It's a little quick 7-yard pass or sometimes bigger passes. That's available, and it's perfectly, he can be coached up, and I'm sure they've worked on it, but his first instinct is to tuck it and get north-south.
Yeah, and I think that's probably extricably and symbiotically linked to the right tackle play. I think that you can develop a bad habit real quick when there is no pocket. And so he does have a tuck-and-go mentality. But, yeah, climbing the pocket, that's like I said, that's between him and his teammates. That's a lot of trust that needs to be built and reassured before Alabama. But when he's outside the pocket and the option should be to improvise at that point. We haven't gotten there yet. He's looking for the best running lane. But like you said, his legs drew a ton of attention from the Tennessee defense, and somebody is shaking free. We probably left a guy, I don't even remember who, it may have been Colby, about 25 to 30 yards down the field. One of our listeners could have thrown him that ball because they left him so open as Gunnar approached the line of scrimmage. That type of thing, just getting his eyes downfield, and we can start turning those types of plays into huge chunk plays. And then again, the Noah Thomas in the end zone, and it looked almost like Gunnar was looking right at him. But he has to be, at this point, looking at the defender.
It was basically just a little push pass. He could have just dumped it right over the guy.
Shovel passed it to him. Yeah.
Easy. It could have been easy. And I think one play where he broke out to his right, he saw the defender come up because there was a running back or somebody, maybe a receiver on a short route right in front of him. But he wasn't quite sure. He hesitated. He wasn't quite sure where he was at the line of scrimmage. And so he just said, okay, I'll just tuck it and go because he wasn't sure if he passed it, line of scrimmage yet. So I saw that one. Easily correctable in the game slowing down after these games, and especially when you can draw from a game like the one in Tennessee. Yeah, those things are going to be more of his in his arsenal, I think, because he's that kind of guy.
He shows the ability to be able to learn from his mistakes and get better. This is the first time that those were really exposed because he hasn't been tested, just like you said. So we should see. He seems to have no problem taking criticism and improving on it. So we should see within the next few weeks, we should see something.
The other thing he needs to do a little differently, I think, and he could help his tackles with this, or help himself with this too, because when he does feel pressure and he gives up ground way too often, which is going to put him in the line of a rusher when they're trying to push the rusher back or by the pocket, he puts himself in line for that. Or even if that's not the case, then that's just it really limits his options downfield. Once you give ground and try to go around the rush, there's not much more available other than just throwing it out of bounds at that point. So he'll get better at that too. I'm sure they want him to climb the pocket and reset and kind of keep your eyes downfield. Defensively, Smooch, we just mentioned this a minute ago. The defensive backs have to increase their awareness, and that was a tough environment for the first real test of the season, so I'm okay with that. And then the defensive line.
Didn't both defenders on those balls that were thrown, didn't both defenders get their hand on the ball?
Yes.
Yeah, but both times the defender got their hand on the ball. That's just a matter of making the play when the play's there to be made.
Well, what you folks didn't see, and I got more issue with Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris lacks physicality, and that's always been an issue with him in tackling. And so, to me, that was his part of that was his fault. A lot of it's his fault there. He just didn't really go up with the intention to take the ball. But with if you watched any or other game film, probably people didn't, with Ellis Robinson after that play, he was pretty much. I mean, he had one other play where they got called for pass interference, but otherwise he was locking his receivers down. He was right in phase. You're not going to look at that because there were not many plays that came his way, but he was locked down good, and so I'm okay with that part. The defensive line, Smooch, I think they played pretty well. They weren't spectacular. They didn't give up very many rushing yards until late in the fourth quarter. But even Kirby Smart said we had to move some people around to mitigate more of the passing game, and they were able to, because of that, they were able to get a little more rushing yards, still only like 125 rushing yards, but for a while, Georgia was tripling them. I looked at one point, and Georgia had 150 yards, and they had 50, and this was in the third quarter.
Right.
And so, but the defensive line, I think, are going forward, they're going to be as good as they want to be, and for the linebackers to be as good as we want them to be, they're going to have to get more penetration and cause some havoc up front. They really didn't get a whole lot of penetration in the middle Saturday.
And that's one of the things that Tennessee's system can mitigate some point, right? It's catch your breath, get lined up on the line, you huddle up, you come up to the line, you fire off, you penetrate the middle of the line. Those guys spent most of their time running downfield to catch up after we had given up 15 yards, 10 yards. So the style of Tennessee does mitigate pass rush in some sort, but we've seen in the past that Georgia's been able to get great pressure on Tennessee quarterbacks. So the system, Aguilar is a step up at quarterback, best quarterback they've had since Hooker. And you could get into what he could do better as well. But the thing is he gets rid of the ball really quickly. You can say that about him. And so that does take out some of the penetration. But the defensive line needs to dominate. And that's their running game. They didn't run the ball down our throats, but the defensive line did not dominate the line of scrimmage. It was a push a lot of the day.
Yeah, so room for improvement, but things that, I feel if you can find those needs for improvement after a classic victory like they did Saturday night, it still feels really good. Those things are correctable. The only issues I have that I'm wondering if are correctable are at right tackle, and that's just because of the personnel and the injury problems. Let's take a look at the snaps, just so you folks can know. And Smooch, I'll go through some of these position groups, and we'll do it quickly. If anything stands out, let me know.
All right.
Of course, Gunnar Stockton, 94 snaps. Man, that's a lot.
That's a lot of plays. That's a lot of plays.
With one. Let's look at the running back position. Chauncey Bowens had 34 snaps, led the way. Nate Frazier with 29. Cash Jones with only 16. Josh McCray with 11, and Dwight Phillips only had 6, but he was effective on those 6.
Yeah, the surprising one to me is that Cash Jones was on the field that much. I remember seeing him a couple of times, but 16 plays is more. But Cash Jones is such a willing blocker that knows his assignment on block. You see him in a lot of blocking situations, so you might not notice he's on the field because he's very good at picking up a free rusher, and there were a few of those. So he did his job.
Yeah, but looking at Chauncey Bowens, they really trust him to do some of those same things. And from a 230-pound man, much different. And so I think he took some of Cash's snaps away. You saw him on that.
Most definitely.
Yep. And looking at the wide receiver position, Kobe Young, of course, had 69 snaps. Zach Branch with 52. Dylan Bell was top 3 with 43. And then London Humphreys with 34. So all 4 of those had more than 34 snaps. Noah Thomas with 24 snaps. So I guess those are your top 5 by far. So yeah, Kobe Young, Zach Branch, Dylan Bell, London Humphreys, and Noah Thomas.
Let me say,
24.
If you think about the way these players are finding their roles, now they're not just like these players, but if you look at Branch, who's kind of settling into that McConkey type of role. If you look at Colby Young, he's kind of settling into that Brock Bowers. I think we throw it to him 1 yard past the line of scrimmage and count on him to get 8 yards. That Brock did it for years, right? Better than anyone that's ever done it in Athens. Colby Young is really becoming that guy. A bubble screen, take it 13 yards. That's invaluable. That's just another running back on the field. That's awesome. And then you see the speedster which Branch is not slow, but Humphreys coming in and playing his role as well. You're starting to see the roles that this Kirby offense is built around. You're starting to see guys step into these roles. They're not these former players, but they're stepping into those roles, and you're starting to see that emerge.
What I call that, and I say it all the time about a particular player or a team, they have yet to define themselves. That's why some people on the outside don't know who you are. Games like Saturday start to define who you are as a player and how we can count on you, what we look forward to, what we expect to see, and as a team as well. And those people playing in these big games will start to get the attention, and they'll get the accolades for it, or I guess the recognition that, hey, Georgia does have a talented wide receiver group. Before Saturday, I bet 90%, if you polled college football fans outside of Georgia, and some Georgia fans too, they was like, oh, Georgia's got no wide receivers. They're going to run the ball and hope their quarterback can run the ball, and still at that, not much.
If you've heard our receipts caching video that we did, I played it I think 4 times in the video, where Unnecessary Roughness said that Zachariah Branch was the most overrated player they have ever talked about.
Yes,
and I mean verbatim. Though that is what he said. Now that's silly, and Branch showed him it was silly. He made catches over the middle. He's great he's the most dangerous player in Athens with the ball in his hands, bar none. He's the most dangerous player when he has the ball. And he's done it twice now, where he takes a short pass, turns around, and just flat out outruns the defense to the end zone. You can say, oh, that was Marshall. Well, he just did it against Tennessee, and he made those guys look slow too. He is an electric player, and they're just, like you said, defining his role in that squad.
Exactly. It's just so exciting to see, too, because he's just what was advertised, and they're using him much more correctly. I think Kirby Smart and Mike Bobo use that slot receiver much more effectively than Lincoln Riley ever would. Looking at the offensive line snaps, of course, Monroe Freeling and Drew Bobo and Micah Morris all stayed in the whole game. Wow. 95 snaps for those guys. Dontrell Glover was the next one at right guard. He had 69 snaps, so he almost had 70 snaps. Ewing had 48, and so he was about half of what the other guys were snapping. Ernest Green couldn't stay on the field very long, 32 snaps. Juan Gaston, again, injured as well a little bit, 26 snaps. And then Hewley came in late, and 15 huge snaps to really propel Georgia to the victory. And you can see his reaction after the game, how much that meant to him. I don't know what all was going on with that clip, or in that clip, where he was just very emotional. Him and Oscar Depp, I think it was Lucky. Lawson Lucky. And they were just embraced, and he was very emotional. So that meant so much to him to get the opportunity. There's been a
struggle of some sort that we don't know about for him to get on that field.
Exactly,
that was a victory for him. I'll tell you this, too. We should probably clarify, in case some of our listeners don't know, when we talk about Green being injured, he has a back problem that he's had for years now with tightness in his back. And
he had back surgery in 23.
Had back surgery in 23, and when he's healthy, he's an athletic freak. And so none of this is any sort of dispersion upon the player that Ernest Green is. I just think he's trying to gut it out, and he's probably less healthy than he's even letting his coaches know, and it's beginning to catch up with him. So I don't know what to do there. But that's what we're talking about when we say Ernest Green is hurt. He's been hurt for a while.
Yeah, yep. Looking at the defensive line, I'll name these top 4 players who played the most of the game. Kristen Miller with 43 snaps. JJA, Jonah Ajonye with 33 snaps. Jordan Hall with 31 snaps. And then Elijah Griffin, the true freshman, with 31 snaps. All those guys played a ton. Xavier McLeod with 20 snaps. And then you even had players like another first true freshman, J.J. Hahn, with 10 snaps. Agboko with 8 snaps. And Josh Horton came in for 3. So
that's some big numbers. That's when both teams run 90 plays. That's what you got.
Linebacker, C.J. Allen, the quarterback back there, had 66 snaps. Raylan Wilson, who probably had the best game from that group, 59 snaps. Quinn Johnson had 43 snaps. Gabe Harris had 41 snaps.
Okay.
Chris Cole at linebacker had 33 snaps. He was not on I guess they kind of rotate these guys depending on the situation.
Must be. I expected him to be on the field a little more.
Elo Mendoza, I saw him one time I only recognized Mendoza when he kind of lost containment, kind of flew in there too quick and then lost the edge, but he had 13 snaps. Justin Williams only got 9 snaps this game. Chris Jones got 7, and Terrell Foster got 4. Nothing really surprising right there other than Cole, but it just depends on what the situation is and how guys are performing. And he still got 33 snaps, so he played a lot.
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
Defensive back, I don't think there's going to be any questions right here as we saw that KJ Bolden on the field for 74 snaps. That's 100%. He played every play. Dalen Everett only came off the field for 1 snap. Probably a helmet came off or something. I don't know. 73 plays. Jonel Aguero, he had a couple of questionable plays, but overall, man, what a tackler. He was very, very integral early in that game or in the first half when Georgia kind of got things together.
He had the hit of the game before. He had the hit of the game before Raylan Wilson delivered that shot. He had a good stick too. Yeah. 64 snaps for him, so that's 86% of the total snaps. He got that many. Daniel Harris with 52. That rounds out your cornerbacks. Other than, I guess, Ellis Robinson had 23 snaps. But Ja'Cory Thomas had 33 snaps, and Kyron Jones got 41. So they kind of split time in the other safety, Thomas and Jones. And Ellis got about 30% of the overall snaps. Him and Daniel Harris kind of rotated. But that's it. That's the snap count. Very always interesting to look at that and see what I saw on the field. Or sometimes you look at that and say, "Oh, I didn't realize this guy didn't play much, or he played more than I thought." So when you play a Tennessee, you are playing a quality SEC team. You're playing an elite SEC team, but you're also playing a different type of SEC team. And so when you see some of these guys, I think that probably explains the Chris Cole thing. That would be my guess. These are just packages. These are just approaches to playing such a unique style, such a different type of team. And then the other thing is, how many total plays were there? I mean, it was over 180, right? I mean, it's insane between the two teams. So a lot of players involved, and you can see where Kirby envisions these players being in what we would call a depth chart. I don't think Kirby sees it like that. He sees it as a series of specialists in different things and different combinations. But it does give insight.
It does. Let's talk about fan reaction. I always find this very interesting. And looking at the way Tennessee fans responded, one of the clips I saw that was so funny is that when they were kicking the field goal to potentially win the game, it was long enough. And so from some parts of the stadium, you can't tell if it was good or not. They will video themselves videoing the celebration, the victorious celebration, only to find out, no, he missed it.
Some cat sent that to Michelle McLaughlin, Arms of the Angel. They set that reaction to it. And I've never felt bad for Tennessee fans in my life, but the look on that kid's face, I think it's the one that's holding the phone, when he finds out that ball didn't go in.
It was delicious. But Tennessee fans, it was typical because we've even made, little songs and skits based on Tennessee's excuses. It's a great game. When you were engaged in a game like that, wherever it is, especially with an opponent like Georgia, just tip your cap and say, wow, I got the opportunity to witness that. It stings right now, but what a game. And, it wasn't for a national championship. It's the 3rd game of the season. Your season's not over right now. Just tip your cap and say, wow, what a ball game.
I believe Coach Hayes had told us, or before the season started, he said there really could be the first Georgia loss in Game 3 against Tennessee. Coach said that right here on our show, and he was almost proven right. That was you're nowhere near the team you're going to be at the end of the season at Week 3. Tennessee's not, Georgia's not. But the reaction, I think my favorite Tennessee reaction was Georgia beat Tennessee because Tennessee had two injuries on defense, and so once they get
healthy now.
Yeah, and I loved your comment to that. Good luck getting healthy in the SEC.
Yeah, you don't get You may get a player healthy, but you don't typically get as a team healthier in an SEC schedule. You're going to have to deal with people missing and people being out of game here and there or out for the season. That's that's part of it. You just cross your fingers that you have the depth of that position, but they always come with the injuries. They come with the grass is too long, the field's too wet, it's too sandy. And this year it was the penalties. Oh, there's so many penalties. And that was a pass interference, or that was a hold. Or like you said with the injuries, always something. They can't just say, awesome game, amazing game. How did you guys do it?
They're cheating themselves out of the best Tennessee performance against Georgia in 10 years. That's something to actually celebrate.
Tennessee hadn't thrown a touchdown pass against Georgia since 2021. They threw 4.
Yeah, they sure did. And they had two highlights. You don't get those over-the-top highlights that play over and over against Georgia. You had 2 of them. Those are things to be celebrated. Just enjoy it and take the loss. Take the loss, but Tennessee fans can't. There's always an excuse. There's always that one thing if they just fixed it. But darn it, Troup, the whole world is against them, even the officials who let Oscar Delp get held for the entire first half off the line. Right? You didn't hear a word from us. If you had been on our thread, you would have heard it. But he was mauled the entire first half. That's part of the game, guys. Officiating, if you're relying on officials and to be completely healthy in the SEC, you're going to have a long, frustrating season.
I mean, and for the Tennessee fans, and we're just about done talking about Tennessee, but for the Tennessee fans who say, okay, when we get you guys again, you're going to see a healthier team. You're going to see us, you better enjoy this one. I'm like, really? You just had it at your home with a Georgia team that if you catch Georgia early with a team like this, a young team with a quarterback who hadn't been there, this is your time to win. This was your best shot to beat Georgia. If you play Georgia twice more, it will still remain your best shot to beat Georgia at home with that environment and the way you took off. Again, we used to tell Ohio State, don't complain. You had a 14-point lead and you couldn't maintain it, right?
Yeah.
Go.
I'm enjoying it.
Looking at Georgia's reaction, and this is the main takeaway, Smooch, I had from the Georgia's reaction. And this is just some fans, because even I got people texting me during the game. Like, sometimes it feels like they would rather harp on something negative than to enjoy what's happening. And I was just carrying on with our chat group, well, some other folks too. Oh, what's going on? I thought our defense was good. Oh, that Mike Bobo, we can't even do this, can't do that. I'm like, this is a SEC game. Just relax. And but one of the main things, even though Georgia fought back and really took control in that second quarter and third quarter, is that they said Bobo did pretty well, but he's just so conservative. I just can't stand him being conservative. I was like, what does it mean to be conservative to you? Oh, well, we need to conserve. The lack of conservatism to me, aggressive means I just want to pass the ball. I'm like, but you also, fans, like those second halves when Georgia just shoves the ball down your throat, down their opponent's throat, and just takes your will from you. That's who they think they are. That's who they want to be. So there's a couple of series when Georgia had a chance to take a double-digit lead and end up kicking field goals. That's where, we got conservative. No, Georgia was running the ball well. You know what? Georgia was running the ball well until they weren't for a couple of plays. But that doesn't mean that they just went conservative. There was one of those possessions that folks are, we got conservative. Well, your right guard missed a easy block that cost you a touchdown from the 3-yard line. Or you're like, okay, well, I'm glad we ran the ball. But you're looking at it in hindsight, I think, sometimes, and it sucks. And before you respond, I will say that for Mike Bobo, you saw plays that you hadn't seen, not even just from last year. They introduced a dozen or more new concepts and new plays, running the ball and passing the ball. They held it just for this. Yeah. And so when you look at, I wish some of you folks would listen. When you look at these early season games next year, and you're complaining about the plays and how we approach that, refer back to this Tennessee game, and you'll know the truth.
Yeah, and understand the head coach of the team is Kirby Smart. He runs the show. Mike Bobo, any offensive coordinator that coaches under Saban or Kirby, they know they are under very clear directive as to how they are to approach the game. Tennessee was scoring when they had the ball. So what do you want to do? You want the ball. That should be very simple to figure out. And so the idea that Bobo is running rogue, driving off the cliff conservative against Kirby's will, I don't even buy all that. I think Bobo has freedom to call the game within Kirby's parameters. I think that's probably how it works. Why wouldn't it? He's Kirby Smart. It's Nick Saban. Those guys, they run their teams. They do not hand off and then forget about an entire half of their team. on the goal line when we got stopped on the missed block. Had that been a pass play, Gunner would have been sacked. Then where would have been, right? That Gunner would have taken a hit on that because that guy came
or
through,
turned it over.
Or turned it over. It could have been another one of those strip sack fumble things. We could have seen a disaster there. So the more you go and look at it, you can see it. There's a few things. I felt like at one point we maybe played for a field goal.
After the interception, yeah.
After the interception, and that really bothered me. I would not hang that on Bobo. I'm not sure I'd hang it on Kirby, but we did. I don't know why. But there was one possession where I thought, now it's time to stick the dagger in and close this thing out, remind these guys who they're playing. And we kind of we settled for a field goal. It felt like that was the goal, and then Tennessee didn't fold like they've always folded in the past. They came right back and started throwing punches. And so some of that's just the tip of the hat to a Tennessee team that for the first time didn't give up at some point against the Dogs.
Yeah. Yep. You want to dominate. You want to take the heart from them, and Georgia was well on the way to doing that. And accumulation of punches matters too, especially when you lack some depth. And Tennessee was down a couple of defensive linemen. One was a backup, but still. And so those accumulation of punches do matter.
Right.
And you saw maybe it mattered in overtime when Georgia took the first play right on down to the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
Moving on, let's talk about something that everybody's chomping at the bit to talk about. We're just going to touch on it because it's so early. But early Alabama thoughts. Yes, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away from the Alabama game. What's some early Alabama thoughts? Anything on your mind?
Yeah. Number one, Alabama's going to be up for Georgia. That goes without saying. They're going to be up for Georgia. They're going to play like gods against Georgia. But what have we seen in their habits? We haven't seen even when they're able to score lots of points, it doesn't seem to come easily or naturally. There's something that just doesn't click in the Alabama offense if you can get the least amount of pressure on the quarterback. I think that if they give him time, I love the way Simpson throws the football. His spiral's beautiful, but you got to give him time. The running game is the most un-Alabama aspect of that offense that I can remember seeing in recent years.
I suppose they've only averaged 80 yards rushing against – we'll leave out Louisiana Monroe, okay?
Yeah.
But Florida State and Wisconsin, Alabama's only averaging 80 yards a game rushing.
Yeah, that does not sound like powerhouse SEC numbers. So who knows? They might come to Athens and rush for 300 yards because it's Alabama and they're playing against Georgia. But what they've put down for us to watch, I think they're a dangerous team, but they no longer seem to be a team to be feared, if that makes any sense.
I agree with that. They also have given up averaging 160 yards per game against those two teams. So they're giving up twice as many. And SEC is a rushing league, and you can't be one-dimensional. I'm just going to tell you. And if you are, Ty Simpson, who looks great when he has a clean pocket, and he's had a clean pocket. I guess Wisconsin, man, his pocket was so clean, and the wide receiver routes were easy access, no problem, no physicality at all from Wisconsin's defense in terms of covering those guys. Easy access, standing in the pocket, standing tall, made it look so simple. But if you are one-dimensional against Georgia, there will not be any semblance of a clean pocket, and so that's the thing. If they don't run the ball effectively to keep Georgia off of that, that's the recipe for winning tough SEC games. I will say that over the next 2 weeks, we're going to hear a lot of Alabama fans give us Georgia's record against Alabama or Kirby Smart's record against Alabama. Do you know what Alabama's record against Georgia in Sanford Stadium since Kirby Smart took over 10 years ago is?
I do not. I got a feeling you do, though.
Yes. 0-0.
Interesting.
So all that stuff that's happened has never been in Sanford Stadium. Never. Very
interesting. That's a huge number. They've never had to come and face playing in Athens. And that is going to be a crazy environment because the dog show is going to be there. I don't know how anybody beats a team that has the dog show in attendance.
That's just a statistical thing right there. Stats.com will prove that out if you want to look it up.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think. I think if Alabama right now, just watching those games, that if Simpson gets a clean pocket and he's just comfortable back there, he was not really comfortable against Florida State and didn't look good. And that was their first game too. But I think you saw against Wisconsin, but you cannot let him sit back there and just he was standing straight up. It looked like he probably should have had like a red jersey on or something.
Looked like 7-on-7. That's exactly
one of those jerseys where you can't touch him. You just stand up there, don't be concerned about it. Just dink and dunk or throw your passes. And of course, he had a couple wide receivers just doing crazy stuff, but I mean, you could tell the overmatched athleticism from Wisconsin once Ryan Williams caught the ball, or one of the other was what's his name? Jermaine, I can't remember his last name. They're one of the other two wide receivers, but yeah, there's going to be a problem, and they're licking their chops because they figure that since they saw those two plays where Georgia's DBs fell down and they caught, they said, "Oh, it's going to be all you can eat when we get there," and it may well be, but it won't be because Georgia lacks the equal amount of talent they need to play against you. So.
Well, let's remember, Ty Simpson did not look good against Florida State, and Aguilar looked pretty darn good against Georgia. So you've got that. If you want to compare QBs, you got a different animal at the QB position. He has to be a statue in the pocket and protected to do his thing, and then he can do it great. But I don't think you're going to have that in Athens, and not to mention the fact that you will not hear a single snap count for the entire 3 hours that you're played between the hedges. You're not going to hear it one time.
It's going to be crazy. Our voices that on Sunday are just done. Yeah. You don't have to worry about that. Got our last segment is our Read and React segment, Smooch. And we did have some interesting games last Saturday. Any game stand out to you? Several games? What do you think about them?
Georgia Tech, brother. Georgia Tech is real. I mean, I remember when Brent Key went there and said, what's your goal? We want to beat Georgia. We want to win a national championship. I was like, slow down there, Junior. We did laugh. And we laughed and we laughed. And now that's a real team, guys. That is a lot more ominous for Georgia on the schedule than is the Texas game. I say that with all honesty, not trying to stir the pot. I am much more concerned with playing Georgia Tech than I am playing Texas.
Yeah, Georgia Tech could be undefeated. I mean, they miss a lot of those tough games. Clemson was the big one for sure. And Clemson, look at Clemson 0-2. And they got 2 losses now. Notre Dame got 2 losses now. Florida got 2 losses now.
Wasn't that our pick for the national championship? Clemson, our pick.
Klubnik for Heisman. Klubnik didn't have a good game against Tech.
No.
I mean, say what you want, but he should be able to, if he's that level of quarterback where we predicted him to be, when he should be, he should. I mean, he might not beat Georgia Tech, but he should have a big game, and he did not.
No.
But yeah, that was so exciting, and I hate to say it, it was a game. The prelude to Georgia's game, so I was definitely watching it. And Tech was up, and here comes Clemson to tie the game late, and Tech puts on a drive, and it was so interesting. They ran out of timeouts, and they had to rush the crew on, the field goal crew on. He kicked it as time expires, a 55-yarder, and I was like, it's probably better that he had to do that because he wasn't thinking about it. He had to run on the field and take a daddy hack.
You know, we talked about that here. I bet that is actually better for the psyche of a kicker than having time to sit and think about it. Run out there, kick the ball, get off the field.
Kick the piss out of it, and, what are we going to say? So that was the game winner. It was exciting. We don't root for Tech, but in terms of football, I like the way that Brent Key has them playing football, especially under Haynes King. I do not look forward to playing that cat again because he wills his team to win.
Yes,
and he's that kind of dude.
100%, absolutely.
Florida, and again, we look at some of these players. Florida did lose their second game. They lost to South Florida last week. Then they lose to LSU and Lagway. Just like Manning, just given everything or expected everything without proof of it, just because of little flashes and things they see or what the narrative is. And Lagway has all the talent in the world. But even before he threw 5 interceptions, 5 interceptions against LSU, he would throw balls early in the season where you were like, why is he throwing that ball? That's not even a route. That's not even a route you're supposed to throw to. Or he's running one way and throwing it across the middle of the field deep. I was like, that's textbook. Don't throw that pass.
Yeah.
Well, it caught up with him Saturday.
Yes. You know, it to our point, when a team we were talking about the Georgia defense and them not panicking and doing something stupid when things got hard or when they got exposed or when they got violated on defense. You saw that at the quarterback position for Florida, right? A few things don't go his way, and it's called quicksand, right? If you ever watch the Keanu Reeves movie, The Replacements, they talk about quicksand. The more you fight, the deeper you sink because you just add emotion onto your decision-making, and your decisions get more and more unwise. 5 interceptions. How many interceptions did Gunnar Stockton have this year, Troup?
He's got 0.
That would be 0, yeah.
The other part of that, what was the score of that game? I mean, it was, 17-10? What was it?
It was something low, yeah.
I'll talk about it. Look that up for me real quick.
Yeah, I got you.
Because with 5 turnovers, 5 interceptions, it was like a one-score game. Was it a 10-point game, 20-10? But Nussmeier didn't do much with that. One of them was a pick 6, I will say that. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, LSU's offense,
20-10, you're right.
20-10. Mm-hmm. You would think with 5 interceptions,
that should be at least 35, 40 points, yeah.
And one of them was a defensive touchdown. So,
right. So
LSU, come on, Nussmeier. You didn't really do much either that game. So it kind of made me think about those guys as well. It should have been a blowout if you had 5 picks.
Yeah, LSU, will the real LSU stand up? You see these moments from them, and Nussmeier can throw the dog out of a ball, but you see these moments with LSU, you're like, okay, turning the corner, and then it was a truly, you never reject a victory, but I could see where that might even be an unfulfilling victory for 5 turnovers, 1 defensive touchdown, and your offense put up 13 points. Is that right? Is my math correct? Yeah.
Nussmeier was only 15 out of 27, which you could say, well, maybe Florida played good defense, only 220 yards passing. And but that game was still a ball game. It wasn't like they just shut it down at that point. Mm-hmm. And so no, not at all. They didn't rush the ball for just over 100 yards too. So LSU's offense just didn't do much whatsoever. Looking at another game that people are, more evidence that you folks jumped on that Arch Manning bandwagon too soon is 27-10. Texas beat UTEP. Very uninspiring, but also just watching Manning play. Very simple, basic stuff that he just doesn't look sharp, doesn't look like not just a competent quarterback. I mean, you folks were saying that he was the best quarterback since Tim Tebow or just a next level number 1 pick. So he hasn't even proven to really be a competent quarterback yet. He was 11 for 25. That's not good numbers for 114 yards, 1 pick and 1 touchdown.
When a highly celebrated and sought after quarterback comes out of high school, there's always there's the list of these sky high predictions about his career, and then there's always the naysayers. And the truth usually falls somewhere in the middle for these quarterbacks. I remember when Georgia was in the Arch Manning sweepstakes, trying to win the recruitment battle. I can remember Georgia fans saying if he had any other last name, he'd be a 3-star quarterback. Now, that sounded like an exaggeration, but he has proven this year with his play to be a guy that can a 3-star quarterback. That's what he's played like. He has not played like someone with even elite potential. And they even tried to pump it up by saying he ran the ball really well. Well, no, he had a touchdown rushing, but he didn't carry his team with that. And his numbers are so pedestrian. And then the mistakes he makes, it looks like he found out he was left-handed the night before sometimes. Like his feet aren't right. He doesn't look comfortable. And I don't know. I know the yips are a real thing. I've seen it happen in the NFL to players when they get so in their head, they get this analysis paralysis. I don't know if that's what it is, but my goodness, with that last name on his back to play the way he's playing, it's got to weigh on him all the time. And Texas has got to be getting ready to press the panic button right now.
Yeah, they don't have any other option. We talked about that before the season, but not based on him struggling, but because of injury. Who would they turn to? They don't have a lot to turn to back there of experience at all. Mm-hmm. But like I think I said this a few weeks ago, his best football is probably next year. Don't think that this year should be, he should just jump right in there.
Right.
Next year. Now, Lagway, I think that you just may have to deal with this. You may have to deal with boneheaded decisions. He's got a lot of talent. He's going to do some things. He's going to have some games where you're like, this is the dude. Then he'll turn around and have another game where you're like, what are you thinking? And why did you do that? And the defense, the talented defense just took advantage of you, made you look, embarrassed you. So I think you're going to get some of the good and the bad with Lagway. Maybe not. Maybe this is a turning point for him, and they can reel him in on some of these bad decisions. I just don't know.
Lagway doesn't seem to have a lot of self-awareness. He plays emotionally. He plays frustrated when he gets frustrated. There's not. He just dug that hole so much deeper that game. If you go back and watch, I went back and watched those little 20-minute highlight reels they put together of the games. You go back and watch those, and it was like he almost got worse. Now, all that being said, he'll probably play lights out against Georgia because it's Georgia. But yeah, we encouraged everyone to pump the brakes on Lagway so much before this season. I got tired of saying it, and so you can see it now. This was a Heisman candidate. This was the return of Florida, and none of those are true. As
another game,
South Florida can attest.
Yeah. The other game, of course, was Vandy doing what Vandy continues to do, undefeated, and they beat South Carolina. Now, we'll say Lenore Sellers got hurt early in that ball game, but you shouldn't. I mean, we thought we really want to get on the bandwagon with South Carolina. We liked the way they played some games last year. I don't know. I don't think there's any severe injury for Lenore Sellers, but I mean, they got to keep. They still got to find a way to win games like that, you would think. But early in the season, these teams are still trying to define themselves and players as well, and you're going to be looking at different depth charts as they go. But Shane Beamer, they expect more from him. He might, if he has he tanks this season, they may send him down the road too.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys with jobs in jeopardy this year that you would have not thought was the case. You look at South Carolina, you think they've got their franchise quarterback, they're on the way up, and now they've been woefully inconsistent at best this season. That's kind of the way they've played. You think Sark is probably ensconced in Texas at the beginning of this season. They have a few more mishaps. You're going to hear the natives get real restless.
Yeah. Let's read and react. We'll be looking at, I guess, no game this weekend for Georgia, so we get to recuperate as well.
Yes.
And get ready for Alabama. I don't know if there's any huge games this weekend. I haven't really looked at the schedule. I've still just been enjoying. I've watched the Georgia-Tennessee game about 3 times and watched several different analysis of it. And I'll probably watch it again before it's over. Because you just don't get many games like that. I mean,
we'll be watching that game forever. Yeah.
I just want, if he would have made the field goal, if he makes the field goal, then I still would watch it. Yeah. But I told somebody, it was Kirk Herbstreit or someone like that, saying that Georgia got saved by he missed a field goal. And I was like, I responded on Twitter, after he missed the field goal, it was still tied, right? Somebody still had to go out and win that game.
You're still 0-0 in overtime. Go out and win.
It was. And so, Georgia put themselves in position to be able to win that game for that field goal to matter. And then they went out and won the game still.
And no one complained about conservative play calling when it was 3 running plays into the end zone to win the game. I didn't hear any complaints about that conservative game. We didn't pass the ball in overtime, people.
All right. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in and for all the fun we've had on social media. And go check that receipts video out on YouTube and on Twitter as we make them pay for some outlandish takes. Mm-hmm. But we're going to wrap this up, Smooch. Can't wait to get back on the air. Maybe this weekend we may recap some games.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Maybe not. We'll let you guys know. For Smooch Moncrief, this is Troup Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon.
This is the Dog Show with Troup and Smooch.
It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.